All right, we're going to move from the chicken coop to the backyard vegetable garden, and we're going to be talking about the hottest picks for this year and a lot of different varieties of tomatoes and chilies and you name it. We have a great guest, Randy Thompson, who's a super volunteer with the Sunshine Community Gardens and also helps pick out all the varieties for their great plants every year. Welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we have you have a great deal of experience at the community gardens in terms of learning. Now, I understand you've been involved there for nearly 3 decades.
I have a small lot in the center of town with way too much shade, so I garden a little at home, but mostly I needed a place to grow vegetables.
Right.
And almost 30 years ago, when we first had kids, we got a plot at Sunshine. And quickly found out that new parents shouldn't be gardening. But when we had a handle on our 2 children, we went back to Sunshine, and we've been there 20-odd years running now.
And you know, one of the great things about community gardens, I think, is that they truly are a community. And gardeners love to share things. They love to share seeds and plants and information. So you've got the kind of accumulated knowledge of hundreds of gardeners over there.
There is no one right way to vegetable garden.
Right.
And when you have a group of 180 plots and over 200 gardeners, there are a lot of different opinions on how to do things. And truthfully, you spend so much time talking to other gardeners that you don't say, oh, I'm going to go out and work for an hour. You have to say, I'm going out for an hour, and I may talk for another hour when I'm going out to the garden. And there are a wealth of experiences just from the parts of the country that people are from and from the techniques they use at Sunshine.
In fact, from which parts of the world they're from, because you have a lot of international gardeners over there. Let's dive in. I want to start by talking about what to plant, and then we're going to talk about how to grow it. But the different varieties, this is a favorite topic for gardeners. Which tomato is the best for our area? Now, there are great producers. What are some of your favorites?
I'll answer it 2 ways.
Okay.
For the plant sale, and this is strictly in terms of numbers, our top 5 sellers are a tie between Cherokee Purple and Celebrity. And just below that in terms of sales are Sun Gold and Black Cherry. And then you start to get into some of the more popular hybrids like Juliet or Bella Rosa or Champion 2. And those, truthfully, we could buy so many more of those particular varieties and they would all disappear, but it would be at expense of the great number of varieties we have, some of which we only have a flat or 2 of because either they're totally new to us or one of our seed vendors that says, hey, I'd like to see how this does in your part of the country. And I'm thinking particularly of a gentleman in San Diego that every year Steve sends us 20-odd tomatoes that are totally new to me.
That's cool.
And I make a point of personally planting at least one of those to get that experience.
Right.
And I have, I don't know, maybe it's being a little obsessive, but I have notes going back to 1990 of what tomatoes I planted. Some years I was busy and I would just put a check or a minus by it. Other years I'd have great notes about everything I planted that year. And right now it's only my wife and I at home, but I plant 52 varieties of tomatoes most years just because, 1, I'm feeling responsible for what I'm having at the sale, but 2, I want to know.
Well, you've got a tomato per week with 52 varieties. Now, let's zero in on a couple of different ones and why they're popular, not just generally, but also with you. What's your favorite of the heirloom varieties?
Cherokee Purple by far. Because it's kind of like your first love. I mean, people think of Cherokee Purple having been there forever, but the seed saver who introduced it to the wider part of our country didn't get the seeds until 1990. It was 1992 before they were widely available. And now even people that don't care about gardening know what a Cherokee Purple is, or they walk into their local grocery store and look for that Cherokee Purple. In my mind, right up there with Cherokee Purple, and this is getting into personal favorites versus what maybe big sellers at the sale.
That's fine.
I love Black Krim. I love Exoica. I'd be in trouble at home if I didn't mention Flamme and cream sausage. Flamme is a little ping pong ball sized French tomato that's yellowish orange on the outside that blushes red in the center. It's gorgeous, tastes good, a little on the tart side. Cream sausage is a white tomato. It is cream colored, and like a lot of cream colored tomatoes, it blushes a little bit red when they're really mature. And, you know, in some cooking instances, it's really great to have a white tomato. I mean, the Sicilians make a pesto that they use tomatoes in.
Okay.
And when you mix basil and a red tomato together, it's a funky color. But when you mix it with a white tomato, you get this beautiful light green color that's really attractive, even though it may taste the same.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a wonderful assortment of different tomatoes. Now let's talk about another real popular plant, the chili peppers. And again, great selections here in Central Texas, a lot of experimentation. What are your hot sellers?
Still jalapenos by far.
Okay.
The only thing that approaches the level of sales of Cherokee Purple and Celebrity are the jalapenos.
Okay.
But serranos are popular. We sell a lot of poblanos, even though I think in our climate, you never get those gorgeous 7-8 inch poblanos like you get from Mexico.
Sure.
But you do get them. And now, since you can find seeds from all over the planet, if you want to get an Aleppo pepper, you can find a Syrian pepper. If you want to get whatever you've read about in a food magazine, we sell lots of shishitos now because shishitos are popular and silly expensive at grocery stores. But it turns out shishito plants put out hundreds of little peppers every year for you.
Oh, great.
And there's always that group that's in the arms race that, you know, since I'm in my 60s, it used to be habanero was the hottest guy on the planet. Now, habanero's old hat and things in literally 2 and 3 times
Oh my goodness.
that heat level. And truthfully, I don't grow them. I don't know what to cook with them. But my wife has an Indian coworker who grew ghost chilies, and it turns out that last year was really favorable climatically. She ended up with hundreds of these gorgeous little peppers, and when she made a sauce with them, my nose was running and everything.
It can happen. It can happen. But yeah, there's a lot, like I said, a lot of experimentation. Southeast Asia also providing lots of new peppers, forms all the time. Another plant that you wanted to talk about in terms of varieties to steer people to is the cucumber.
I love cucumbers. We're a great climate for them. My personal favorite is one called Babylon, and maybe to get a little into the evil corporate side of the seed industry, but big seed companies have made things less than available than they used to be. But Babylon's a little Middle Eastern cucumber that fortunately there are a lot of other ones available, like Beta Alpha and stuff, but it used to be that you can find them everywhere, and now the smallest untreated lot I can find, since Sunshine's an organic garden, I have to, at a minimum, have untreated seed. I have to buy 1,000 of them at a time.
Wow.
So consequently, lots of people at Sunshine are growing Babylon. But there's a few Asian varieties like Suyo Long and Sagami Hanjiro that make these kind of rough textured on the exterior cucumbers, but they get 18 inches long. And if you're, you know, a typical gardener and you're only doing a few cucumbers, I found that even though they get 18 inches long, they don't get overly thick or overly seedy. So if you want to make 6-inch pickles with them or do bread and butter pickles, they work perfectly for that, even though they're meant to be a fresh-eating cucumber.
Okay. Well, the community gardens, Sunshine Community Gardens is an organic affair. Let's talk about cultivation of these plants real quickly. What are the essentials in terms of amending the soil?
I'm a little on the fringe on that because all I add to my personal plots is organic material, primarily compost. Every once in a while, I'll throw in some cotton burr mulch or something like that, and that was as much an attempt to acidify our soil a little because our soils tend to be slightly alkaline, and since I like tomatoes more than anything else, it's trying to push my soil back into that pH range that they prefer. Just recently, Sunshine started doing compost tea, and lots of people were really delighted with it and happy with it. And I read all the things about introducing the beneficial microbes to the leaves, but I don't have anything quantified on it yet. We do have a tomato test plot, though, where we grow out tomatoes every year. And this year, we're going to fertilize half of the rows with the compost tea at weekly intervals to see if there is really any evidence that there is a benefit.
Well, we hope to have you back. You could report on that. Now, tell me about pest control. When I think of, especially the tomatoes, the villain I hate are stink bugs. They just make me angry thinking about them. How do you deal with those?
Crush them. You want to say
I knew you were going to say something like that.
You want to say that there's something better to do, but when you're gardening organically, there's really not. But oddly enough, sunshine, well, you do get those little necrotic spots that stink bugs make on your tomatoes. But our major issue are birds.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a concentrated area of tomatoes.
Right.
And the birds are just pecking at them. And they don't limit themselves to that. I have a lemon tree in my backyard, and I'm 1.5 miles from sunshine. The crackles destroyed my beautiful lemons this year. I did not harvest a single lemon that did not have major damage.
I used to put little red wooden balls out. What's your favorite tip? And we just have just a short amount of time.
Actually, what I do, my strategy is to overplant by a few plants, and I put out water for the birds, hoping, and perhaps naively, because I haven't quantified this either.
All right. Real quickly, when is the plant sale?
The plant sale at Sunshine is always the first Saturday in March. This year will be March the 5th.
Okay. Well, we have to wrap it up on that note, Randy. We got carried away in our love affair with tomatoes, but we so appreciate you being with us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Coming up next is our friend Daphne.